just want to know how you guys are doing. Yeah, it's been a pretty hectic couple of months finishing up with school and everything. Luckily, I worked really hard on my classes and I was able to get a couple of B's and A's and B's. That's what it was. C. I was really close though, but I studied really, really hard for that one. But yeah, 4 A's and 2 B's. But I've been taking a break for the past couple of weeks for the winter holiday, and I'll be starting back school today's the 25th. I'll be starting school in the next, I would say maybe, I still have about a week and a half, but yeah, just want to see how you guys' holiday has been. How was your Christmas? Or if you don't celebrate Christmas, how was your Hanukkah? Or for my African American viewers or African viewers out there, tomorrow you have Kwanzaa, so at least there's that. You have 7 whole days of celebrating. So let me just pull up to see who is on the stream. I take it it's going to be a pretty slow one because it's Christmas, everybody's going to be busy for the holidays. So all right then, well, in the meantime, let's see how everybody else is doing. Let's see. Okay, we do actually have a few people here. Wow, surprising. I guess you want to take the time, so awesome. Thank you very much. Hey, Strums. Hello, Cameron. Hey, Jacob. Hi, Vam. Merry Christmas, everybody. Let me know what you got. Oh, Jacob Kennedy says, I got an LP record player. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I might as well show you some of the stuff that I got. So, let's see. This is not the complete, amount of stuff that I gotten this year, mostly because I'm still waiting for stuff to come in the mail, and also I'm, some of the stuff that I did get was like some cash, for some upcoming things that I'm going to be doing for next year, so it's going to be very, very helpful. Hey, Razorblade, thank you very much for the compliment. Okay, so let's see. First things, I know that for a lot of kids, they're like, oh, really? I got this for Christmas? So, I don't celebrate Christmas. Is that okay? It's of course it's okay. I mean, it's a holiday stream, If you don't celebrate Christmas, if you celebrate Hanukkah, or if you celebrate Kwanzaa or winter solstice or whatever, it's perfectly fine. So you're good, Razorblade. You're good. Anyway, so I got socks, especially since I don't live in Florida anymore. Anything, like woolly socks is going to be very helpful for me. It's freezing outside. It's like 33 degrees. It's been a very, very long time since I was accustomed to those kind of temperatures, because living in Florida for 18 years and then coming back into where there's colder weather, it was almost kind of like a whiplash at first, but I got some coats and I got some scarves and I got some hats and gloves and all. It's been okay. It's been okay. Another thing that I got this I think it was frosted cranberry scented candle, which is great because I like scented candles. I really do. And this one smells really nice, especially cranberry. Cranberry is one of my favorite fruits, and it does smell really nice for the holidays. Right now I have a plug-in that smells like apple cinnamon, to keep into the festive mood. Let's see what else anybody got. Would I say Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse is Sony's apology for the Emoji Movie? Well, I guess it depends, because, just because Sony's working on it, Sony is a big company, like, big, really big company, and they have, like, a whole bunch of people that work on it. I do know for sure that, the Emoji Movie, a lot of people, there was like a rumor spreading around that they canceled the Popeye movie that Genndy Tartakovsky was going to direct for this Emoji Movie. That still hasn't been confirmed yet, but I do know that the Into the Spider-Verse movie was directed by, the geniuses of Lord and Miller, so yeah, what was it, like Chris Lord, or is it I probably got that mixed up, but Lord and Miller. I mean, I've mentioned this before in a podcast, I don't remember which one, but they are the type of directors that can take a concept that sounds really, really bad and turn it into gold. They directed, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the first one. They did 21 Jump Street, and they think they produced 22 Jump Street as well. I think they weren't as involved in that one, and they also did the Lego Movie. So, for doing this, and with it being as high quality as it is, I am not surprised it's doing very, very well. And the fact that, it has all the different incarnations of Spider-Man with, Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen, Peter Porker. I've heard a lot about these because my friends at the Comic Book Cast have been talking comics for years and years and years, and I've been familiar with them. But now it's a good opportunity for people who are familiar with just the Peter Parker version to get introduced to them. Some of my personal favorites that weren't there. Let's see. I mean, a lot of people know about the Ben Reilly version. A lot of people know about the Miguel O'Hara version. Some people know about May Parker. That's Peter's daughter. So yeah, there's a lot of incarnations of Spider-Man. Very interesting ones. So I'm glad that the movie's doing really well. And for a lot of people, they say it's the best movie that came out this year, which is, it's crazy. We had movies like, you had The Incredibles 2. You had let's see, yeah, Isle of Dogs, and let's see what else came out. I think Hotel Transylvania 3. I don't think anybody really cared about that one very much. But yeah, there were a lot of movies that came out this year. Probably not as much that people are going to remember, than just a handful. For animated movies, it was a pretty decent year. It was okay, nothing too spectacular. But as for an apology, maybe. I mean, if I think that Marvel is really, really close of getting the rights to Spider-Man again. Fully, I'm talking about. I know that they have the right to still have him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but Sony does still have some rights, with doing the Venom movie. So I think that if this was like their last thing that they were going to do for Spider-Man with, Sony, I would have been happy with it. I do know that they're going to do spin-off movies, so they're not finished with it yet. But I'm glad that Sony was able to pull itself together, because Sony seems to have a bit of a rough reputation when it comes to their animated features. For Cameron, I got a SpongeBob hoodie and socks because my parents knew I was saddened by Stephen Hillenburg's passing away. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of people who are still really upset about that. I just find it hard to believe that there's a petition going on right now for Sweet Victory. I think I even mentioned this in the Aaron Meta show, where we had Jake, the collector, the Nickelodeon collector, or something like that, where there was like this big buzz about play this in next year's Super Bowl, and I was asking about, okay, that sounds really cool, but are you going to have the actual performer, the one who wrote and performed the song, to do it, or are you gonna have showcase SpongeBob to perform the song? If that's the case, then I think Fox has, they always show the Super Bowl, so they'll probably have to get permission from Viacom and Nickelodeon to do that. So I best of luck if it does happen, but we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I do know that a lot of people were really saddened about his death, and I said my piece on it if you want to go check out the Stephen Hillenburg tribute on the Aaron Meta show. So, I'm glad that you got some cool stuff. Let's see. Also, I got the Animator Survival Kit by Richard Williams since I'm majoring in animation. Oh, very nice. Can't wait to see what you got as soon as you perfect your animation skills. Are you going for more 2D or 3D? I take it 2D, since something like the Survival Kit with Richard Williams, he's more crafted with 2D. I take it. I saw your Aaron Meta podcast about Stephen Hillenburg, and I see that you have met Jay Clark. Yeah, I just for that podcast. I don't really know the guy too much. That was the first time that we ever met. Hey, Patricia, what'd you get for Christmas? Hey, Norbert. I just showed you two other things. I got the socks, and I got the candle. Here's another thing that I got for the holiday. So, this one right here was a gift from My good buddy Chris, aka Rowdy C, whom a lot of people may know for TV Trash or, his Ninja Turtles retrospectives, his Zelda retrospectives. We went to Disney World together and we actually collaborated on a video on the Little Mermaid animated series from last year. So, yeah, if you want to go check that out on his, YouTube channel or on his website, then you can. It was a lot of fun. I'm planning on having Chris on my video. We're collaborating on something together, so I'm hoping that works out really well. Okay, so let me just show you what he made me. This is a t-shirt, and it says, 90s nostalgia is my superpower. And he made the shirt just for me. So thank you, Chris, if you're watching this. Let's see. Let's see. Are you up for a Gargoyles reboot? If it's good, sure. I don't mind it. I know a lot of people are like sick and tired of reboots. It's like, just stop. But, I think I did mention this, on Saturday with Decker Shadows Live and Wired that, I don't mind reboots as much. I mean, I know that it's being overdone to death, and I completely understand that. But I feel that if there is a movie or a show or something like that needs to be tweaked because, some things about it are dated, then I don't mind it at all. I've already talked about how much I really want to see a Pirates of the Dark Water reboot. So Gargoyles, that's a really good question because the first 2 seasons were really good. Season 3... I think that was when Greg Weisman left, and then they had the Goliath Chronicles, which was nowhere near as good. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, if, right now, Greg is finishing up Young Justice on the DC Universe live stream. The streaming side I meant. So, maybe, if demands for it are high, maybe we will get a Gargoyles reboot. We got the DuckTales reboot. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Let's see. Zombie Powder. What did you think of Legend of Korra? Me personally, I thought it sucked just as much as the last Airbender movie. I wouldn't go too far because, M. Night Shyamalan tried to cram the entire first book in like an hour and a half. You can't do that. You cannot take this. Camera's right over there. You cannot take this and cram it into a 90-minute movie. You just can't. You can't. Like, seriously, you can't. As for Korra, I've already mentioned this before. I think on Nick's Missile 4, the final chapter, when James and we were discussing about the Avatar The Search TV movie that was going to happen, but it never did. As mentioned before, Nickelodeon did not want to have it picked up because it had a female protagonist. Then we're like, okay, we'll give you 1 season. First season blew up. Then, Mike and Brian were working on Avatar The Search as a TV movie. Then they said, no, we're going to do season 2. And then they had to scramble season 2 like much quicker than they had to. They made Avatar The Search into a comic book series, and then we already know about the mess about season 2. And then season 3 and 4 is when things started picking up. I always see Korra similar to Alex Mack, in which the first 2 seasons are really, really rough. I think very similar to, Alex Mack. I mean, Korra for season 2 mostly is pretty pointless. It's only seasons 3 and 4 is when the show gets really good. So I kind of like see it into that. I mean, I feel really bad for Mike and Brian because they had to go through a lot of like restrictions from Nickelodeon, like. You remember the Clip Show episode. The reason why that exists is because, they were chosen to either do an episode based off that, or they had to fire most of their animators because they didn't have the budget. So, yeah, basically, it was a rough start. I mean, I know for a lot of people it's like, it's like, what's already the final product? What is it we're gonna judge it on that. And yes, it's not as good as Avatar. I mean, it was really tough act to follow, but I think that if they were to been given the creative freedom that they had in the first place, it would have probably been a little bit better. But we can't say what'll be in turn for history. I think a lot of people consider Korra to be kind of like a flawed show, and much of that is pretty much true. But I don't hate it. I think that they had problems, and I think that they were able to work it out, but kind of too late, which is a shame. But I think that The Last Airbender is still a mess, but I can understand for Legend of Korra. But at least that's for me. Let's see. Let's see what else everybody got for Christmas. From Vestin Bruno, I got the 3rd season of Rugrats, the 2nd season of Fraggle Rock, Reptar Returns, and the Made on Demand DVD from Amazon. Chalk Zone the complete series. Awesome. That's a lot of cool stuff right there. Let's see, for Tanner, if you check out the channel Saber Spark, he reviewed some of the worst animated Christmas movies of all time right now. Really funny reviews. Oh, cool. Maybe I'll check it out when I have the time. Let's see. Are you not fond of made-on-demand Nickelodeon DVDs by Amazon? Because I'm not. I wouldn't know, because I don't own any, made-on DVDs on demand. Most of the Nickelodeon DVDs I got was from either shopping on Walmart or going on to the Shout Factory website when they were, when they were just starting out. With the exception of the Invader Zim DVD. I got that on Hot Topic when I was in college. And it's a good thing I did, because they've been out of print for years and they're super expensive. But yeah, I don't know anything about the made-on-demand Nickelodeon DVDs, so if they really suck, then thank you so much for giving me the warning. I could go for a reboot of The Last Airbender movie. That would be dope. I think that I think Mike and Brian are rectifying that with the Netflix live-action series. I know that Mike and Brian have regretted that movie. It's something that they're really, really, really not proud of. And so I think that they're, because of, them trying to, kind of like push it to the side like it doesn't exist. I think that that's what they're trying to do with the Netflix series. But with all the stuff that's been going on with Viacom and Netflix lately about Netflix is being sued by Viacom because apparently they're poaching their TV producers, I mean, right now it's looking a little sketchy, but we'll just have to wait and see. Let's see. Season 3 of Gargoyles was okay. It had its moments. I guess so. Then again, it's been a while since I've seen it, so I just remember it being kind of mediocre, but I'll have to rewatch it again. I am planning on it because I think I did mention this on Live and Wired and many years ago that I was planning on doing a new series called Heroic Gem or Junk, where I look at obscure or slightly forgotten, superhero TV shows or movies. And I actually do have, bits of the first episode written already, and I've got the research finished. It's just that, I really want to take my time with it because, it's a new project, and it's stepping out of the, Nickelodeon stuff that, I've been known for over 6 years. So I'm hoping that it does well. Maybe I'm really, really hoping to release it by next year because I made the announcement back in 2015 or 16, and I didn't even do anything with it. But I think that one of the biggest mistakes when I did my announcement of it was I saw Wolverine and the X-Men, and I kind of felt like something was incomplete, and then I realized why, because it doesn't exactly follow, but you sort of have to see X-Men Evolution in order for you to get the full story of what happened in the beginning, which I've never seen X-Men Evolution. I've only seen the X-Men animated series from the 90s, and then there's also the movies that came out of it with, X-Men X2 and, X-Men 3, The Last Stand, and X-Men Origins Wolverine, which I probably have to watch those two to get context. I decided to push that off, and I'm going to focus on something else, which I did mention was Cyber 6, which is definitely a better standalone project. So I'm hoping that, once I, get this thing going, if it does really, really well, then I'll definitely talk about, the Goliath Chronicles. I really want to talk about that. I got the Mr. Magoo theatrical collection. Do you like that character? Yeah, he's a pretty fun character. I first learned of Mr. Magoo. I don't remember if it was reruns on when you remember when Cartoon Network used to have a lot of old cartoons from the Turner block. They had a lot of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. It was either that or probably one of the cartoon shorts they showed a lot on Wienerville. I think it was probably that. But yeah, I mean, Mr. Magoo, is just a guy who is practically nearsighted, and he just gets himself into stuff. So, yeah, that's all I know about him, and he seems to be an okay character. That's how you do it, but you have the complete collection, that's pretty cool. Let's see. Uh, okay. The Last Airbender might have a chance if Shyamalan wasn't the director and if it had been 2 hours long. Maybe. I think that maybe they should have. I don't think they should have like. Yeah, maybe 2 hours. Yeah, I think that would have been much better. I think that what he was trying to do was like do a three-parter, similar to how it's book 1, book 2, book 3, similar like Lord of the Rings, in which you have like this huge adventure and it's like all, crammed together into like one movie. But Lord of the Rings, I mean, if you watch like the extended stuff, that's like 3 or 4 hours long. That's a difference. And there are dedicated fans out there who get into that stuff. I mean, I just like the theatrical stuff just fine. If I'm interested in like more of the story, like, maybe the stuff that they cut off from the book, I need a drink. Cocoa. But yeah, definitely so. Let's see. Mike and Brian still aren't that great of writers, except for Avatar. Now, to be fair, I've never read any of their comic books. I don't know about, I do know that they split off and they did other things, but, yeah, I mean, Mike and Brian, they created Avatar, but there were a lot of other people who were involved in the writing besides just Mike and Brian. You have, Aaron Ehas, who I feel is a great writer, probably one of the best writers in, the Avatar, The Last Airbender group. He's currently working on Dragon Prince on Netflix. And also, believe it or not, Dave Filoni, he was a writer, and he also directed a few episodes of Avatar The Last Airbender in the first 2 seasons, but then around, I think it was like towards the end of season 2 or the beginning of season 3, that's when he left to do Star Wars The Clone Wars. But there's a ton of writers who are, great with Avatar, and I think I think that, a lot of them, the writers, like the main writers who are great with Avatar, I think some of them stuck behind, but I think a lot of them left. I know that some of them worked on other shows, even, some Netflix series. I do know that a lot of people who worked on Avatar was working on Voltron and, other projects. And like I mentioned before, Dragon Prince is one. So, yeah, I mean, just because, Mike and Brian created it, that doesn't mean, like, they're the main writers. There were plenty of other writers for Avatar. But, yeah, I guess it's, I've even heard an argument many years ago when I was in college about, like, some people didn't like Camp Lazlo because, even though Joe Murray created it, a lot of the writers who did well with Rocko's Modern Life went off to work on SpongeBob, and they said that the quality it shows in Lazlo, which... I didn't, to be fair, I only know about Lazlo, like, a little bit, not very much. I mean, that show was, like, way past my time. So, but I can definitely see that. I can definitely see how, a person whose name is in, like, the creators, I mean, they are involved with a lot of episodes, yeah, like, overlooking, what the story's gonna be about, but... there's more than just one writer. I mean, a lot of people have their own distinct style and their own distinct way of storytelling, and you can definitely notice when you're watching an episode. But, again, I've never read any of the comic books that they wrote after Avatar The Last Airbender, so I can't say for sure. Have I ever seen the animated educational video, Our Friend Martin? No, I have not. Are you not fond... Yeah, I already answered the question, Vespin. I don't know anything about the made-on-demand Nickelodeon DVDs because, as I mentioned before, I got my Nickelodeon DVDs either on Walmart or on the Shout Factory website, and with the exception of Invader Zim, which I got on Hot Topic. But yeah, sure, if you want to tell me what you got for Christmas, I'd love to know. Do I think that they should make another season of Avatar? Are you talking about The Last Airbender, or are you talking about, like, another series of Avatar, like, after Korra? Because for Avatar, The Last Airbender, Book 4, no. The comic books are already covering that. They're already telling the story of what happened after, the war ended and leading all the way up to Legend of Korra, so we already have that. No need to have it animated. As for, like, a new series that takes place after Korra, like... let's see. Aang was a male airbender. Korra was a female waterbender. So that means that in the lineup, we're going to have a male earthbender. So it could probably take place, like, I don't know, maybe like like 70 or 80 years later, and it's going to be quite interesting because if they did 1920s, you know, the aesthetic, then I would probably see them do maybe a combination of steampunk, like almost toward the future, or maybe like very like phantasmic, very mystical, because she let out the spirits and we don't know what the outcome of that was. So that should be really interesting. I mean, we'll just have, I doubt they're going to do that. At least not anytime soon, because Mike and Brian were so burned out from, you know, all the restrictions they got from Cora. So I think that unless, you know, Nickelodeon is willing to let them, you know, give them the creative freedom that they'll need to, you know, do something like that, then I'll be happy with it. If not, then let's just leave it at that. I mean, the comics are doing just fine. Let's see. Have you made any progress on your Sema and cat dog videos? No, I'm still working on it. I'm already like filled up with a whole bunch of other stuff. Like here's my notes of the video that I'm working on. All of this. I had to watch an hour and a half of a documentary so I can be able to jot this stuff down, and had to go through like 5 newspaper articles. So I'm still working on this one. So maybe probably not anytime soon though. Okay, Jacob Kennedy says, I got Ruby volumes 2 and 4 for Christmas. Good. That's awesome. I've heard a lot about that show. I heard it's really good. Hey, Tech Swift, Merry Christmas. Okay, well, Paramount currently is releasing Rugrats on DVD, and hopefully one of these days we'll get the complete series. Yeah, I have been hearing a lot about that. They're making new DVDs for Rugrats, so that's cool. Okay, I got Lion King 1.5. I was disappointed you didn't mention that on your Disney Toons podcast, but I know you haven't seen it. I still have not seen it. So I'm sorry. I am so sorry that we did not mention that movie in the podcast. But to be fair, we didn't mention a lot of movies in the podcast. We never mentioned like Brother Bear 2 or Bambi 2 or let's see. There was like a whole bunch of others that we didn't talk about. So, and we didn't even talk about any of the Airplane movies. I've never seen any of the Tinkerbell movies. Chris has seen at least one of them. So yeah, there were some people who were disappointed that we didn't talk about every single one of them. But we knew the more famous ones, except for Lion King 1.5, just like you mentioned. So I'm sorry. Let's see. After seeing your worst episodes of As Told by Ginger, it boggles my mind how Carl didn't get arrested for flooding the school's playground. I mean, Carl is a kid. I don't know about him being, like, arrested like that, but yeah, I mean, he definitely should have been, like, given a harsher punishment. But I take it that because he's been in trouble so many times, they don't know what to do. Like, oh, what are you gonna do? Suspend him? I'm sure he's gonna cause a lot of ruckus at home. Oh, he's already cleaned Mrs. Gordon's car multiple times, and I guess, that was like the biggest punishment they could do, but it should have been a little bit worse, yeah. But then again, if you remember from the episode that I talked about detention, where, Carl and Hoodsy were making the tea and it was getting them sick, the police was involved with that, so your guess is as good as mine. Okay, Jordan. Hello, Jordan. I got Dragon Ball Fighters for Nintendo Switch, Season 11 of The Big Bang Theory, and Teen Titans Go to the Movies. The reason why I only got 3 gifts is because I got, $600 for Christmas. Well, good for you, man. That's awesome. Let's see. Razorblade. I think the Rugrats reboot is going to be really good if they make it completely different from the original and make it more modern. Yeah, I think from what I've been hearing, I think that, there's rumors going around about how they're going to do it. I know that Paul Giamatti is going to be coming back as an executive producer, the first time that he's been back in Rugrats for, like, over 20 years, because he only worked on the first 3 seasons. As for what, him, Arlie, and Gabor are going to do, I have no idea. I mean, I take it that maybe the comic books that were coming out is kind of like an indication of that. I know that Arlene wanted to incorporate some modern things, because if you read from the comics, then I think that they did have references to like cell phones and stuff like that, which I'm kind of iffy on. kind of like similar to how it was iffy that they were including cell phones in, the Jungle movie. Especially since it took place like a year after season 5. So, but if they're able to do it in a way that's not distracting, then I don't mind it at all. The movie. I am really concerned about that movie, though. Live action actors with CGI babies. I'm concerned. Oh boy. It could either be really, really charming or really, really creepy. It could either go one or the other. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay. My Life as a Teenage Robot needs a proper release. Yeah, I've noticed that they haven't really released a lot of like new DVDs for Nickelodeon lately. I mean, with the Rugrats one, I know, but I'm talking about like the, like another show that they have never released on DVD. It's been a while since that's happened. I'm surprised because I remember that those were like, really. Around like the early 2010s, that was when it was getting really popular. I take it that maybe when 2000s nostalgia starts getting more hyped up, hyped up, then we'll definitely see more of it. I think that we'll see, Teenage Robot, maybe we'll see more Jimmy Neutron, we'll probably see more, other shows that have been pretty much obscured. And I think that'll be more into, the 2000s nostalgia. I mean, I did see the complete series of Teen Titans when I was going shopping at Walmart. And, let's see, there was also, the newer DVDs and Blu-rays of other animated series. So, only time will tell. Let's see. I also got a record of the soundtrack to Steamboat Willie. Another soundtrack is on it, along with Walt recalling making that short. Oh, nice. Records. I actually do have a record player in my living room, so that's pretty cool. Did I see the first look of the live-action Aladdin remake? Yes, I did. I saw the picture. And, it should be interesting. I've been seeing a lot of comparisons to Shaquille O'Neal's Kazam. He's not done by Sinbad. I know the whole, what do they call it? Like the Mandela effect, that's what it is. The Mandela effect about like, Sinbad was played as the genie. No, he wasn't. It was Shaquille O'Neal. And, Aaron and I were actually really concerned about like Will Smith's portrayal as the genie. Like, how is he going to do it? Is he going to do Fresh Prince of Bel-Air genie? Or is he going to do like mean-spirited, snarky genie? It's questioning. And I don't mind about, like, the new, like, design changes for the clothes. That's not maybe, like, for aesthetics, that's very important for a lot of people. But, I think that, Aladdin having a shirt, I know that, in the movie he looked a lot more poor. I guess, maybe because there was, like, a lot of flack for Beauty and the Beast for, like, keeping it too similar to the movie, that maybe the next movie that they had to change it up. Maybe that's why they're doing it. I have no idea. But your guess is as good as mine. I've yet to see any of the live-action Disney remakes, so I don't really know anything about... like Maleficent. I've never seen that. The only one I have seen is Alice in Wonderland. Ugh, that was really bad. And 101 Dalmatians, which I thought was pretty good. I've never seen 102 Dalmatians, though. Those are the only two that I've ever seen. And if one of them was pretty good and the other one sucked, and I've been hearing a lot of people talking about, like, Maleficent was awful. The Beauty and the Beast was awful. Jungle Book. Well, I've heard Jungle Book was alright. And Pete's Dragon, which I've heard it was okay, too. So, maybe I'll do a podcast of it in the future. Maybe I'll bring Zenith with me or something. Because... there's the Lion King reboot, there's the Mulan one where it's not gonna have any singing at all, so yeah. Oh boy. Mike and Brian, Michael DiMartino and Brian Konietzko are the creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's who they are. Let's see. Robert Zemeckis chose Mars Needs Frickin' Moms over Calling All Robots, which was an animated post-apocalyptic giant monster movie written by Michael Dougherty. That sounds pretty cool. Although, Robert Zemeckis, poor guy. I know he was trying his motion capture animation and hoping that it'll, really catch on as, the next way of incorporating animation. You have your 2Ds, you have your 3Ds, you have your stop motion, you have your flash, motion capture. Nope. But, yeah, at least he tried. But yeah, Mars Needs Moms. I've never seen it, but I've heard bad things about it. Jeez. Okay. Big plans for videos, podcasts, etc. for 2019? Yes, absolutely. I mean, I mean, of course, it's probably not going to be as much because I'm still going to school, but other than that, yes, I do have a lot of big plans. I have lots of cool stuff that I want to do. I can't really say a lot of it, but I can tell you one thing that I've been working on. Let me just... I know a lot of people have been wanting me to talk about this. I'm working on it. I'm 1/3 finished. So I'm going to be doing a follow-up to the History of Harold the Jungle movie with my discussion on this. There's that. And, Chris and I, when we were going to Disney World last year, we wanted to collaborate with each other on some projects. He did the Little Mermaid animated series, which I was in, and I'm working on something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. There was a particular show that he and I really, really liked, and it was my fault, not Chris's, my fault, but I wanted to talk about this show for so long, and I finally had the time, but then some unfortunate things happened with, my dad, and then the move, and, going back to school and everything, that it just kind of, stopped. But I'm hoping to, put it all together for next year, and, yeah. So expect a crossover with Chris and I. Let's see, other stuff that I'm working on. We'll be continuing on with Dream Machine, which is the podcast that Aaron and I have been doing with, doing the DreamWorks movie, similar to how we did with Pixmix with the Pixar movie. So, if Toy Story 4 is coming out next year, then you definitely know for sure that we're going to be discussing about that. We'll bring back Pixmix for that brief time to discuss about that movie. And as mentioned before, there's also Heroic Gem or Junk. I really want to do, influential Marvel. I've mentioned that a million times before. No, it's not about Marvel. It's about movies, TV shows, video games, etc. that were incredibly groundbreaking and influential, and discussing about what it influenced. That's what influential Marvel is. And there's Nick at 40. A lot of people have been really, really, really demanding that I do Nick at 40. I'm trying to find a way to do this retrospective that I'm going to get no comments from anybody saying, you're ripping off Pop Arena. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But let's see if I can think of anything else. Other than that, you'll have to wait and see. But yes, big plans coming. I'm sorry if it's not going to be as frequent because I'm going to school. But I am working really, really hard on it. Let's see. Norbert. I got quite a few Nickelodeon-related presents for Christmas. I got a 90s Nickelodeon t-shirt, 3 Avatar comics, and the full DVD sets for All Real Monsters and Doug. Nice. Cool Christmas presents. Okay, why reinvent the wheel for Rugrats? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, yeah, it's true. I even mentioned that in my top 10 Nickelodeon shows that need comic book adaptations, which I called it. I called that I wanted to see Rugrats, and now they're doing Rugrats. In fact, I actually called off a few things with Comic Uno and myself. We called off Legend of Korra, but that was pretty inevitable, so that doesn't count. But we did call out... what was it? that we wanted to see comic book adaptations of Rugrats. That was one of them. Let's see, the list was Wall Thornberrys, As Told by Ginger, Rugrats, let's see, Danny Phantom, Legend of Korra, Angry Beavers, Danny Phantom, oh, I said that, Teenage Robot. I said, personally, I would like to see the modifiers, but yeah, I did call it, and I did say in that video they should go back to basics, not include Dillard Kimmy, and, you know, just go back to the regular babies. I think the only thing that in the comic books they did include was, yes, they did, you know, go back to basics. They did have the regular babies. They didn't have Dillard Kimmy in it. And they also included, like, some modern technology. I don't know if they're going to stick to that, you know, that close from the comics all the way up into this reboot. I have no idea, but don't be surprised if it is. Because if you remember the trailer for Invader Zim Enter the Florpus, that is, I mean, when I first saw it, it's basically like a shot for shot of the comic book series. They're taking the story that is straight from the first issue of the comic books. So, yeah, I'm not too surprised that that they did that, and I'm not going to be too surprised if the 20 episodes are going to be based off of the comic books, or maybe stories that were going to be in the comic books so it didn't get mixed in there or whatever. But yeah, we'll just see what happens with Rugrats. Okay, what do I think of the 1998 Dr. Dolittle movie with Eddie Murphy? Haven't seen it in ages, actually. I haven't seen it since it premiered in theaters, which I did see in theaters, as well as Mouse Hunt. So, yeah, I can't tell you. The only reference that I did was with, with whenever I did the Proud Family, in terms of, like, the Kwanzaa video, which actually tomorrow is Kwanzaa, so you should check out my video. And the Black History Month video, I did mention about Kyla Pratt and Raven-Symoné being in the Dr. Dolittle movies. That's the only reference that I had. So, but yeah, I haven't seen it in ages, so I couldn't tell you. I don't know if you answered this question already, but what are your thoughts on Netflix's Hilda? Haven't seen it yet, but I did see a clip of it. I think I did mention that, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. So I really want to take the time to see it, but I'm super busy. Would Nickelodeon releases of any of their shows on Netflix? No, they will not, because as mentioned before, Netflix, Viacom, they really don't like each other, but you can't see it on Hulu, so that's where you can go watch it. Do you think Nickelodeon will actually do anything for their 40th anniversary? I have no idea. They haven't done anything for their 30th or their 35th, so, I mean, they did the 25th anniversary celebration, so, you know what, maybe they will. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll turn around. Let's see. Hey, Patricia. Glad to see you doing a live stream again. Thank you, Icy Mr. Mario. Hope things are good. Speaking of 2000s nostalgia, I heard that Nick's Blood is going to be airing Invader Zim on January 2nd to promote Enter the Florpus. Yes, that is, because Enter the Florpus will be coming out next March. So, yes, Enter the Florpus is almost done with production. So that's why they're reintroducing, kids or teenagers or whoever watches it onto Nick's Blood, which will be airing on TV for the first time in like almost or over 10 years, which is crazy. So it'll get kids who never seen Invader Zim a chance to take a look into it, which I mentioned before. If they want to get the DVDs, good luck, because they're expensive. I've mentioned this many times before that I got my DVD for $40 like 15 years ago in college, and now they're really expensive. Like, if you want the house, the one that's shaped of the house, you sacrifice an arm and a leg, because that's impossible. But yeah, good. That's probably going to be like a great opportunity to introduce a new audience to Invader Zim and Enter the Florpus. I'm looking forward to it. Let's just see how well that turns out. Although no mentions of Static Cling though, which concerns a lot of people, including myself. One of the things that I did read in Joe Murray's blog was about how they're finished with production, but Nickelodeon won't give them an exact date. So we'll just see what happens. Let's see. Let's see. I'm not a fan of Disney as of late. Oh, well, it's understandable. I mean, if you're not into, like, the newer Disney movies or what they're doing to Star Wars and Marvel, then that's fine. It's okay. As mentioned before, Disney has their different phases, and that's why a lot of fans divided into 7 different eras. So if you don't like this era, then you could always wait another 10 so years for the next one. Whether it be good or whether it be bad, who knows? Only time will tell. Do you think Nickelodeon should start a streaming service? They have so much stuff in their canon going back to the 80s. That would be awesome, actually. Maybe actually, release some of this stuff instead of relying on old VHSs. But I take it that, I don't think that Nickelodeon, like the channel itself, like the main channel, because their main channel is for like, the 7 to 11 demographic. So if you're gonna show a bunch of 8-year-olds who are familiar with stuff like, Loud House and, Game Shakers and Henry Danger Pinwheel or Hocus Pocus, they're going to be, like, confused as, like, what is this stuff, So, I think they'll probably have to get another channel or definitely, like, like you said, a streaming service so that, we can actually see it in much more clear detail. That would be awesome if they can. It'll definitely give a preservation, but I don't know how many of those shows that they own the rights to because, as mentioned before, like a lot of the stuff was from Cube, which was in Columbus, Ohio, and then there's also the Cosgrove animated series, like Duckula, Count Duckula and Danger Mouse. That's owned by a completely different company, so I don't know if Nickelodeon would allow them to do that. And then there's Mysterious Cities of Gold, which is currently having another season on their, like the 3rd season of the reboot series, or the sequel series, or whatever it's called, in France. So I don't think they were able to show everything. Maybe they can show stuff like Stand By Lad's Camera Action or, that kind of stuff. But I don't know about any of the old stuff. But, because a lot of it was either like stock footage of like a lot of other shows. Like The Third Eye is going to be difficult because, they got the rights from like, those were like Australian and New Zealand like TV movies that they spliced up into like episodes to make it look like an anthology series. So yeah, it's gonna be hard for the rights. Probably like shows like Livewire or stuff like that will probably be a lot easier though. Let's see. Aladdin has a shirt and Jasmine jewelry is blue instead of gold. Yeah, I know. We did discuss about that. And, like I said, the aesthetics are different, but it's all a matter about how well are they going to present the story and how the characters are going to act. I'm still concerned about Will Smith as the genie. I guess I know what they're trying to do. Like, the Broadway version of the genie is like this energetic black guy, which I have seen him in like clips and he is really, really good. So with Will Smith, he could either go Fresh Prince genie or like really cynical genie. It's gonna be crazy and very interesting. Let's see. Polar Express and Beowulf were pretty good. I like those films. I watch the Polar Express every year and I don't mind. It's all right. Oh, yeah, that's right, the animation, the mocap, right. I've been one of those people who think that the Polar Express is okay, and I've never even seen Beowulf. Let's see. AI Disney princesses wear blue, that's why Fiona wears green. Oh, okay, like an offset, okay. I guess the closest would be from green would probably be with Ariel and her fins, and then much later on, like around 2009, I think, was Princess and the Frog, in which Tiana wore green. So, I guess that's kind of like offset now. Let's see. A project I really want to do, is a live-action Anastasia film. Well, there is the Broadway show, so I guess that's the closest to a live-action Anastasia film. I mean, if you're talking about, like, an Anastasia movie, there's already been Anastasia movies. There's been 2 of them, all done by Fox. They were done in, like, the 70s. So, there are Anastasia movies. If you're talking about an Anastasia movie based off of the animated series, then, yeah, the closest one that you'll see is probably the Broadway musical. I don't even know if it's still even running, though. I'll probably have to double-check to see if they're still running. Let's see. Speaking of Hey Arnold, do you remember the episode Monkey Business and the plot of the episode? Oh no, I have monkey nucleosis. Yeah, I remember that episode. That episode was kind of crazy. You know, just the fact that Helga thought that she was going to turn into a monkey. It was surreal. Nickelodeon should start a streaming service. Maybe it'll help them become more relevant. They do have their app, so I guess that's the closest thing that they're gonna get. But as like a standalone streaming service, then we'll just have to wait and see. I know Disney's gonna be doing one, or maybe Disney already has been doing one. DC is going to be doing one, so I wouldn't be surprised if those become like really successful, if they're going to air like exclusive stuff. Excuse me, my throat's drying up. Then yeah, I think that we will probably see more exclusive streaming sites. But right now, you know, you have the Nick app, and you have Verve, which, you know, they're airing some of their shows there. So we'll just have to wait and see. Let's see. Have I seen There's Something About Mary or Shallow Hal? Yeah, I have seen them. They're all right. I'm not too crazy about them personally. I don't know, for the Farrelly brothers, I've never really got into their work. I mean, probably the exception would probably be the first Dumb and Dumber, but that's because it's really dumb. But then again, Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey, they sell their performances, but everything else like Osmosis Jones and stuff like that, I didn't really care for it too much. What's Pop Arena? Pop Arena is a YouTube channel who is currently doing Nickelodeon retrospective. I had him on the podcast a few months ago, and I interviewed him. So if you're interested, go check him out. Let's see. Great Break Productions. Hey, how's it going? I got an iPhone 7. I may be bad at typing, so excuse that. No problem. That's cool. You got a new iPhone for Christmas. Awesome. Let's see. I know I'm way behind, guys. I'm really, really sorry. You have so many great questions that I want to answer every single one of them, so I am sorry. I've seen your Kwanzaa video, but thanks. Our friend Martin is kind of similar to the Proud Family episode. Oh, okay. Thank you for letting me know. If that's the case, why hasn't Static Clean aired yet, despite the fact that it's finished production? I don't know. There's a lot of rumors going around. Some people say that because, of maybe Hey Arnold not meeting up to Nickelodeon's expectation, that they think that probably 90s nostalgia is starting to wane down, which is why they want to release Invader Zim first. I don't know. I don't know the reason, personally, so your guess is as good as mine. Proud Family reboot, what do you think? No, the Proud Family, from what I understand, has had a good run and also had the movie, so I think it's okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I want to do a live-action Anastasia film based off of Don Bluth's flick. What do you think? I mean, if you want to go for it, then go for it. If you want to stick basically like the same way as how Don Bluth did his version, like verbatim, then I guess that's fine. If you want to, do some changes, like, to stick closer to what actually happened to the Romanov family, or, what happened during the Russian Revolution, then, that'd be awesome. You'll probably have to get Fox, permission in order for you to do a actual film of it, but, best of luck to you. Is there anything that Don Bluth is working on? Yes, he is pitching the Dragon Slayer movie, which we did discuss about on the, the Fox Animation Trilogy podcast, that's right. So yeah, he's working on that. Let's see, the one thing about the Polar Express that annoys me a little bit is that the main theme keeps playing every 5 minutes. Like Rebel Taxi says, it kind of ruins the magic of it. I guess so. I mean, if music is playing constantly over and over and over again, I guess it does get kind of tiring, doesn't it? What's really stupid about the Aladdin reboot? People actually complain that Will Smith does not have blue skin. I would not be surprised if people are complaining about that. I am not. From the looks of how the characters are designed, it looks like they're pulling off from the Broadway show, because that's exactly how the characters are dressing. I mean, Will Smith's portrayal as a genie looks very similar to the Broadway show. So, Yeah, if you were to look like Blue, he looked like a giant Smurf, or Mr. Popo from the very edited Dragon Ball Z Kai on Nicktoons. Remember when they thought that Mr. Popo being black was like a racist stereotype, so they painted him blue. Oh, that was so stupid. But yeah, let's see. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Arnold betrays Iggy, worst episode of any cartoons. I've seen worse. I've seen way worse. Maybe the worst for Hey Arnold, but as for like worse in any episode for cartoons, no. I've seen worse. Let's see. Merry Christmas. How was your Christmas? My Christmas was good. Thank you so much. Let's see. What do you think of Nickelodeon selling some of their shows to Netflix? Not too surprising. I mean, if Nickelodeon feels that it's not going to do very well on their TV, and they've been seeing how Netflix has been like the hot stuff right now with their exclusive projects, with BoJack Horseman and Dragon Prince and the Castlevania series, I'm not surprised that Nickelodeon wants to get a piece of the pie, although I do find it kind of ironic and hypocritical because, as mentioned earlier, Nickelodeon is suing Viacom. I mean, no. Viacom is suing Netflix. I'm tired. Is suing Netflix because apparently they're poaching their TV executives, and Viacom has always had this kind of disdain for Netflix for some reason, so I kind of find it ironic. But no, I'm not surprised. Hey, Merry Christmas. I'm doing good, Terrell. Thank you so much. Polar Express, love that movie. Mars Needs Moms, yeah, that was awful. Again, never seen Mars Needs Moms, so I'm sorry. Let's see. Will Smith will have blue skin. They say they'll be switching it around. Okay. Interesting. Maybe, I mean, if they switch it around like a joke, then, maybe like one scene he has the blue skin and then the other scene he's normal, then okay. That's fine, but I just hope that it doesn't stick too well because I think it's gonna look really awkward. Or maybe it'll look good. I don't know. We'll see. In the live-action movie, will Iago talk? I do not know. I have no idea. I don't know if they're going to bring back Gilbert Gottfried. I didn't hear anything about it, which, if you haven't yet, I suggest you take a listen to Gilbert Gottfried's podcast. It's actually really hilarious. And he's had some really awesome guests. My favorite with Rob Paulson and Eddie Deason. Eddie Deason, you probably know, like the voice of Mandark. And with all this talk of Polar Express, he's the voice of the geeky kid. His interview was actually pretty insightful and pretty funny. Let's see. What is my favorite 90s Nick show? I get this question a lot. What are you talking about in regards for that? Are you talking about live action or are you talking about animated? If you're talking about live action, it's Pete and Pete. If you're talking about animated, it's Hey Arnold. I got an interesting Nickelodeon question for you. What classic but underrated 90s Nicktoon will you love to see have a revival someday down in the road? Let's see. I did do a list many years ago of the top 10 Nickelodeon shows that I would like to see remade. And I'm talking about, you're talking about like a 90s Nicktoon. The only 90s Nicktoon that I think could, at the time, that I thought could work to be brought back as a remake was Kablam. That was the only one in the list that I said. Everything else was live action shows. The reason why I said that was because, Kablam could work really well with introducing like new skits and new animation and new characters, but I think that that's kind of irrelevant now because we have the internet for that, and Nickelodeon has been posting a ton of their Nickelodeon shorts on their YouTube channel, so something like Kablam probably wouldn't work anymore. As for a 90s Nicktoon that I would like to see a revival of, that's a really good question. Let's see, there's only been, Doug, Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life, All Real Monsters, Cat Dog, Wild Thornberrys, Rocket Power, SpongeBob, and Angry Beavers. So I think I said that already. And let's see. As of right now, Rugrats is already going to get its revival. Doug will probably not happen because it's owned by Disney. Ren and Stimpy, big stretch because of the John K. incident. All Real Monsters, that's going to be tough. Out of the classic cheapo Nicktoons that aired in the 90s, it was probably the least successful. which is a shame because I really do like that show. Do I want to see it come back? No. I think it was perfectly fine the way it is. Rocko's Modern Life is getting Static Cling. Wild Thornberries. If they do bring it back, they really need to tweak that up. I mean, they really do need to. Like, you know, make it more interesting, make Eliza a little bit more likable and less cocky, make Darren less of a coward. Just basically remove a lot of the Klasky Chupo tropes. I could probably do an entire video on Klasky Chupo tropes, on everything that they do to their shows that are pretty much the exact same thing. I even thought about, like, you know, maybe not for kids, but, you know, I've always thought to myself, you know, a drinking contest for, you know, take a shot every time you see a character with a big nose. Take a shot every time that you see a character with a, you know, their mouth and their chin. Take a shot every time that you have a bratty child that has pigtails and is, like, completely insane. Take a shot every time that there's a really mean character. Take a shot if there's somebody who's incredibly insane. You know, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. For, like, Wild Thornberries, I think they'll definitely have to tweak it up, but as for, you know, like, the way it is, no. Rocket Power is going to be really difficult to bring back because it was a product of its time. It was in a time in which, like, skateboarding was, like, super popular. Everybody knew who Tony Hawk was. Nowadays, pretty much nobody knows who he is. I mean, the kids probably know about him as, like, that guy who's on the phone app and that really awful Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 game. But, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, skateboarding is still really popular in California and various other places, but it's not a huge worldwide phenomenon as it used to be. It's kind of funny because Casey and I think we were talking on Central Park last year that, you know, it's kind of funny, like, looking at Sam from Rocket Power. It's like everybody's making fun of him for being, like, a geek who's in his computer, and, you know, he's being made fun of by a bunch of, you know, extreme skateboarders, but now, 20 years later, everybody is Sam, and anybody who's, like, you know, the Rocket group of kids are, like, the outsiders. It's crazy. So, if they are probably going to bring back Rocket Power, they'll probably have to do it in Sam's perspective, because, you know, everybody's pretty much, like, a nerdy kid with their computers. You know, in his perspective, I mean. But, yeah, I mean, it has to be way less extreme, way less in your face. And, you know, just, you know, it's funny because I think I remember, like, watching a handful of episodes of Rocket Power for some reason. And some of my favorite episodes of Rocket Power was when they were not going, like, all extreme. It was when they were much more mellow. I think that those episodes still kind of hold up. One of my favorites was, you know, when Tito was starting to feel left out and, you know, Reggie was trying to think of a way to not make him feel homesick. And so Otto, Twister, and Reggie were trying to, like, you know, cheer him up by asking him to do a whole bunch of things to show him his appreciation. I think that works really well because, you know, he's a guy who's, you know, not in his home, you know, home state, and his, you know, his family's far away, and, you know, showing appreciation of that. That stuff's pretty cool. I wish there would have been more episodes on that instead of the whole extreme thing, which makes it just look so incredibly cringeworthy and out of place in 2018, almost to soon be 2019. So, yeah, let's see, SpongeBob, of course not. I mean, SpongeBob is still going strong. So, if I were to choose, like, a Nicktoon that I would like to see be in a revival, I mean, I think we do need to have, I mean, when I had Mitch Shower on my podcast last year and talking about, like, the Angry Beavers Respooted, like, that idea that he had, I want to see that. If anything, I would like to see that be a TV movie. Anything else, I can live without. Ooh, that was a long one, so thank you very much for the question. Klasky Chupo trope, not a bad idea for a video. I think you should do that before Watch Mojo does. I think Watch Mojo is doing that right now as we speak. They do like 400 top 10s a day. I'm just kidding, but yeah. What sport would I like to see in a cartoon? That's a really good question. Anime is very well known for having sports. I mean, you know, there would be a handful of them, but now recently it's like blown up. It's not even funny. Let's see. From what I know, there's already an anime about baseball. There's an anime about soccer. There's one about basketball, ice skating with Yuri on Ice. what would be a really cool sport to have as a TV series without looking so ridiculous? That's really tough. Like, let's see. They tried skateboarding, so let's skip that. Like, a very universal sport, you know, because, you know, some people may not like baseball. Some people may not like football. Some people may not like soccer. So we need to have a sport that everybody can, like, really gravitate to. Has to be something fun. I don't think golf, because, you know, some people find golf to be boring, or bowling. That's really tough. If we were to have a sport that's sort of obscure, but we want to make it like extreme, like incredibly entertaining, then I would probably say, oh, that's really tough. Let's see. I mean, hockey would be pretty cool, but then again, hockey is a very, you know, niche thing as well. Whether it be ice hockey or rollerblade hockey. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I know. Maybe, I mean, okay, this sounds a little bit weird. And I know, this is going to be, like, probably the weirdest thing you're ever going to hear about. I think that a really cool sport that you would have, like, a series, like, if you want to make it, like, you know, like, rivals and stuff like that, and you wanted to have, like, show off cool tricks, but at the same time, you know, there could be, like, disadvantages or something like that. I think Ultimate Frisbee. Hear me out. So, Ultimate Frisbee is almost like football, except that you throw a frisbee and then you have to catch it and then you just do all these like cool little throws and stuff like that. Let's just say that you have like regular kids, right? Just regular everyday kids, and you know, like frisbee is a pretty universal sport, you know, just throw the frisbee, but there's a technique to it because I used to play Ultimate Frisbee. Now, Ultimate Frisbee, there's a lot of running, there's a lot of techniques in throwing, like, you know, whether you're throwing straight or you're throwing a curve or you throw really, really far away. And there's a lot of strategy to it because you have to think on your feet. And you also have to, like, plan on, you know, who's gonna protect who and, you know, who's gonna run for the goal and stuff like that. So let's just say that you have regular everyday kids, like, they go to school and they do different things, right? And, you know, like, you have this kid who's, like, constantly practicing on throwing, you know, and stuff like that, and you have, like, this other team of kids who, you know, they're really good at Ultimate Frisbee, and, you know, you just play through the sport, you know, try to make it fun. I think it's a little bit more flexible because, you know, with Frisbee, you know, you have to constantly practice your throwing arm. And, you know, also practice your running and such, and practice your thinking and strategizing. So, you know, you ever heard of, like, Hikari no Go, in which, you know, kids have to play Go? It's another anime that was, like, hyping on the popularity of, like, you know, game anime, like Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff like that. So, I think that, maybe, you know, do an obscure sport. You know, an obscure sport that probably get people into, you know, that kind of stuff. I would say Ultimate Frisbee. I know it's a little bit of an offshot, but I think they'll be really cool. Okay, do you think 80s is an underrated decade for Nickelodeon? Yeah, I've already mentioned that before. I wrote an article many, many years ago on my blog about, like, you know, why don't more people discuss about 80s Nickelodeon. I'm sure you could probably check that out somewhere. Let's see, did you know that Nickelodeon's alum Danny Tamborelli, his wife is Caitlin Detweiler? Yes, I do know that because I follow her on Instagram, and she's pretty enthusiastic and kind of high-strung. I do think that she's pretty cool. She's always making those smoothie videos, which is pretty funny. Let's see. Do I remember JBVO? I have no idea what that is. I'm sorry. Let's see. With Stanley gone now, what notable changes do you think we can see with the upcoming Marvel movies? As long as Kevin Feige is, like, the head honcho of everything that's been going on with Marvel and its movies, and I think that will be okay. I think the biggest concern for a lot of people is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, now that, you know, James Gunn has been fired. So, yeah, I think that they do have, like, a handful more movies to do until they're finished with their cinematic universe. After that, I have no idea what they're going to do afterwards. Let's see. With the 2020 and 2022 Olympics in Japan and China, I think we're going to see a big-time sports anime surge. Yes! I am so excited for that. I am just excited for the 2020 Olympics in Japan. I've always been a huge fan of the Olympics, but I am just super excited. Especially with, I'm telling you, like, people who were not excited about the Olympics are now going to get excited about the Olympics because of the anime ambassadors. Like, you saw the list, right? Of the anime ambassadors, with Sailor Moon, Naruto, Goku, Astro Boy, Crayon Shin-chan. There's a couple of others that are there, but oh man, people who didn't care about the Olympics are going to be watching in flocks. It is going to be amazing. Okay, what do I think that the worst decision Nickelodeon has ever made? Oh, that's tough. There's so many dumb decisions. So many. The one I can think on the top of my head is probably, like, so many attempts of trying to, make, their online shows into TV series. That just fell apart. Awesomeness TV, which I remember when James and we saw Awesomeness TV on YouTube, and we thought it looked really cool. There was a lot of potential, but then they screwed it up. And then there was The Fred Show, and then there was React to That, and they sucked. So, yeah, Nickelodeon definitely learned their lesson. No more acquiring online shows into their TV lineup. Just no. Nick Studio 10, like, that was a big mistake. There's a lot of them, but I can't really think too much of it right now. Okay, what crossovers do you want to happen with any of the 90s cartoons? Oh, that's a really good question. I'm actually going to be doing a podcast really soon about crossovers, so maybe I'll discuss about that. Who are some of the worst YouTubers I've ever seen? I don't really see a lot of, like, really bad YouTubers. I mean, I just read about them, but yeah, I personally would, I don't, like, search for crap. That's what I do. I mean, I don't deliberately search for crap. I mean, it's like, if, I've heard about Irate Gamer and all that kind of stuff, like, many years ago, but, I've heard about the talks about, like, PewDiePie and, Logan Paul and all those people, and even though that I would talk about it on Live and Wired, I've never seen a single one of their videos, so I wouldn't know anything about them. So, yeah, I don't really know too much about the YouTube stuff. Let's see. Oh, I missed your question. I'm very sorry, Terrell. What are my thoughts on Brian Robbins as the new Nickelodeon president, and you think he'll turn things around? Well, let's see. I mean, Brian Robbins has worked with Nickelodeon for a very, very long time. He was the co-creator of all that, and, he's produced a lot of live-action shows. I think that, with the direction of live-action shows, I think that Brian Robbins is definitely going to be the kick that we need, because, in a way, Dan Schneider did work for Brian Robbins and on all that, and then he went off into his own thing when he became like a giant conglomerate of all the live action shows. Any other live action shows that wasn't Dan Schneider pretty much just fell into the wayside. I think when there was a guy on Twitter who worked on Nickelodeon who talked about, like, Dan Schneider said that, his live action shows were a bigger priority than the Nicktoons or something. And, everybody was, like, really pissed off. And I think I even mentioned on Twitter about, like, Dan Schneider having such a gigantic ego. And then I said, can you blame him? It was, him being, like, the king of live action shows was handed on a silver platter because nobody else could come close. There's a reason why most people don't even know about Caitlin's Way or Taina or Romeo or Just Jordan or the Naked Brothers Band, because Dan Schneider pretty much overshadowed every single one of them with Drake and Josh and, iCarly, Zoe 101, Victorious. There's a reason why you know about those shows and you know nothing about the others. But then again, most of those others sucked anyway, so maybe there was a reason why Dan Schneider stuck around for a long time, because if there was a show that he didn't do, it most likely sucked. Like, around the time of, like, Victorious, there was, like, True Jackson VP, and that was not really that good, and yeah. And then we already know about the whole Nick Studio 10 fiasco, but even then, that was when Dan Schneider was losing a lot of steam. So yeah, they really need to bring new people into the live action stuff, because, like, Dan Schneider is already, like, he's already way past his prime. He needs to be taken out and replaced with new blood. and hopefully people who can write realistic stuff as opposed to like that over-the-top stuff. I think people are sick of it already. Let's see. Have we ever had a great ice hockey cartoon? I have no idea. Maybe there's an anime about ice hockey, but as like a cartoon, the only ice hockey cartoon I know about is the Mighty Ducks cartoon, and that one sucked. So I'm sorry, I have no idea. Let's see. What two Nicktoons should cross over? Okay. That's a good question. Okay, so the ones that we do know, I mean, a lot of the Klasky Chupo characters have crossed over. Rugrats and Wild Thornberrys have crossed over. Rugrats and Rocket Power actually crossed over in a comic book. Rugrats and All Real Monsters crossed over in an episode. Let's see. And, you know, other than, like, commercial interstitials where they, like, have the characters together, that doesn't really count. What would I like to see come together? Like, I think I did mention this, that, I think in the comic book adaptations, video, I think Comic Uno and I were discussing about, like, what would happen if My Life as a Teenage Robot and Danny Phantom came together? I mean, like, what would it be like if Jenny were to fight robots and Danny would be fighting giant monsters who attack buildings? Like, what would that be like? That would be insane. Like, Tremerton and Amity Park could kind of, like, be side by side, and they're dealing with their own problems. And maybe like a ghost is going on Trenton, and Jenny can't do anything about it because she's a robot. She can't fight ghosts. Or maybe a giant monster's attacking Amity Park, and Danny can't do anything about it because he never had to deal with anything so gigantic, like a building. So maybe they need to call off, maybe like Vlad Plasmus is working on it or something, and maybe they need to work together. I think that'd be really awesome to have that. Yeah, I think that's the only one I can think of that would be really, really cool. Okay, one sport that is about to explode is lacrosse. Ooh, lacrosse. That would be an awesome cartoon. You know, but kids with a bunch of sticks throw the stick. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. That'd be fun. Rugby would also be really fun, although I think it'll be too violent for the kids because you could really get hurt. Like, football is looked as a wussy game compared to rugby. Rugby is very, very, like, extreme. Like, you can get hurt. You could lose an ear for playing rugby. So, okay. Do you remember the Christmas episode, Doug's Last Christmas? That's my last question. Do you think it was intense and very suspenseful? Yes! Yes, I do. I really do like Doug's Christmas story. It's one of my favorite episodes. Yeah, I really do like that one. Yes, very intense and very suspenseful. It was definitely like a departure from anything Doug was doing at that point. So, yes. Let's see. In middle school, I had a 6th grade friend when the Ben 10 reboot came out. He said it was better than the original, which I respected his opinion. What cartoon crossovers would you like to see happen again? Oh, I already answered that question. And if your friend is into the reboot, that's perfectly fine. Yes, I do know that Nickelodeon will be celebrating its 40th anniversary in 2019. Why do you think people think animation is just for children? That's a very good question, and I'm going to actually tell you to check out my friend Y-Boy from Toongrin, where he actually discussed about is animation for kids. And I think that mentality of animation being for children is definitely more of an American thing. You definitely don't see that in, like, European countries, and especially not in Japan. In America, they perceive animation as just something that kids would watch. If it's in a cartoon form, it's for children. But in other countries, they treat animation with a lot more respect. If you were to see like a European cartoon, it's a lot more artistic, and a Japanese cartoon where they tackle in very risky, topics. Yeah, I think that whole mentality is a very American thing. Like, if you were to watch a European cartoon like Waltz with Bashir or the Triplets of Belleville, like, it is a very artistic telling of, like, really serious stories, but in animation form. And, any Japanese cartoon or movie or whatever, whether it be from Miyazaki's or Studio Ghibli. I'm sorry, whether it be from Studio Ghibli or any other like company, they treat like their stories with the utmost respect. At least a lot of them. There's some that are a little bit like suggestive, which it's to be expected because Japan sees that kind of stuff much more differently than Americans. Americans are a lot more conservative. Japanese people are a lot more they're a lot more open to, doing perspectives. Like, if you were to watch the original Dragon Ball, which, that's clearly, like, for kids, there's some moments in which Bulma, is, like, completely topless. So, it's to be expected. But yeah, animation is, treated very seriously in other places. Like, if you were to watch something from Aardman, they always find a way to, incorporate fun stuff for the kids and fun stuff for the adults. Like, if you've seen Arthur Christmas, they have a great story that's fun for the kids, but also really good for the adults. Chicken Run, the same way. Wallace and Gromit, the same way. Shaun the Sheep, to be fair, that's based off of a kid's show, but at the same time, adults love it because it's fun. I mentioned before, Studio Ghibli, Miyazaki is very serious when it comes to like, writing stories and perspectives of taking quiet moments and telling like serious talks about the environment and nature. A lot of his other collaborators, same thing. Even people who were inspired by Miyazaki, same thing. They tackle a lot of serious stuff. European cartoons, very similar, whether they be stories that are like very fun for the kids or stuff that can be really, really serious. I feel that animation is just a medium that can be told any kind of story, just like anything else, a documentary, a live action movie, a TV show, anything. Animation is just part of that. It's not for children. It's for everybody. It's just a matter about what's your mentality of writing the story and who is it presented of. In my life and my fundamentals of audio and video production, the first thing that we do when we are learning about creating a new project is what is our target audience. And for a lot of people, their target audience is like one specific crowd. But I believe that if you're doing it really well, then you can spread it out to everybody. Everybody can have enjoyment in one way, shape, or form. But it depends on, who in America. Pixar is very open to like, tackling serious issues and, other things. So it just depends on who. But I think conceptually in a general consensus, a lot of Americans do feel that animation's just for kids. But everywhere else, I feel no. They treat animation a little bit more seriously. So that's all I have to say. Let's see. Speaking of China, how long before we see a big-time animation series go mainstream? When they have a huge hit that like spreads around the internet, that people like spread word of mouth, that's when it starts hitting big. Like if it's like one Chinese cartoon that, is really popular over there, and then they find a way to like target toward the more general audience, I think that'll open up. Very similar to how with Speed Racer or Akira or Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball Z was for the Americans or for people all over the world, that more people got into anime. I think a similar thing will happen for China. So that's my thing. JBVO was a Johnny Bravo spinoff where Johnny would host a show where he could read fan letters. No, I don't remember that one. Sorry. What do you think is the best special you've seen, and what is the worst special you've seen? Special in what way? Animated special, TV special, which way are you talking about? Hey, Charlie, how's it going? It's been a long time no see. Hi, Porter Player, how's it going? Let's see. What do I think? What do you think if Walt Disney was brought to life? For what reason? For him to see what Disney has Disney, the company has become? If that's the case, then I'm sure he'll be really proud, with it still going strong and the Disney parks doing well, the movies doing well. I think that if you were to revive him for that and seeing how, everything has, progressed, I think that he will be really happy. Let's see. Do you know that Naomi Harris got her start on the Tomorrow People reboot that aired on Nickelodeon from the early to mid-90s? No, I didn't. Thank you for letting me know. Thoughts on the Nick Cannon show and Noah knows best. Suck. Next. Let's see. Do you think that the sadly underrated Mystery Files of Shelby was the first Nick show to feature an Asian American female lead? Yes, it was, because there was practically no Asian leads at the time. You had Phoebe, who was a side character, but not like a major character, so yes, Shelby Woo was the first Asian American female lead for Nickelodeon. So yes, you're absolutely right. Let's see. Rugby is huge in nations like the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. Maybe a rugby cartoon for those markets. Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't been done at all for any of those specific locations, because I know that there are exclusive cartoons that we can't see, so I'm surprised that there hasn't been one yet. Let's see. Have I seen just Disenchantment? No, I have not seen Disenchantment. From the looks of it, I don't know. Just something about it just didn't really appeal to me, which is kind of shocking because I really like The Simpsons and I really love Futurama. But Disenchantment, I don't know. Just something about it just didn't really interest me that much. Maybe I'll give it a chance. Maybe it's good, but I don't know. I don't know. It felt like Futurama if it took place in the medieval ages. So, I don't know. It didn't really gravitate to my interest. The Brothers Garcia. Yes, The Brothers Garcia, one of the best, yet criminally underrated shows of the early 2000s. It was the first to feature a Hispanic-American Latino family. Yes, not only was it the first to feature that, but it was also the first show that was, the first show ever that was created, written, produced, and directed by Hispanics. So everybody who worked on that show were Hispanic, and it was the first to do so. At least the first Nickelodeon show. I don't know if the first ever, but it was definitely the first Nickelodeon show, for an American TV. So, yeah, I think that one of the reasons why the show never really caught on was because it was a lot more subdued than anything Dan Schneider was doing. It was talking about the perspective of Larry. It was like the Wonder Years for a new generation. We got to hear about Larry's perspective about what he was doing and what his brothers were doing. And I think that the characters, I think that one of the reasons that a lot of people remember about it, I need to drink, sorry. Not a lot of people remember about it is because, let's be honest, looking back on the show, some of the characters were a little bit one note. Like George, his main gimmick was he's always hungry and he likes to eat all the time and he's, into music, and, Carlos was the cool brother, and the sister was obsessed with soap operas and stuff like that. And, Larry was kind of the blank slate who's absorbing everything that's going on, and the audience is just looking at, the show and trying to relate to him. So I think I kind of know why the show didn't really catch on. The show was, not a standout. It was like any other show that came out at the time, but not enough to really push it, compared to anything else that was out. So. But yeah, I do, respect the show and what it did, but as a standalone project, I don't think it was anything that spectacular. Let's see. Hey, Patricia, did you get anything for Christmas? Yes, I did. Let's see, I have a candle. I got some woolly socks. I got, this, t-shirt from my buddy Chris, aka Rowdy C. Oh, that's right. I forgot. I forgot to show you one more gift that I got. I actually got this gift not too long ago, and I really want to show you guys. It's really cool. So let me just show you what it is. Let me just close this part up. There we go. Okay. Ta-da! I got this. The SNES Classic. I just got this gift not too long ago, so yeah, it's really cool, especially since they're going to be discontinuing these, so yay. This has been a lot of fun. And their controllers are so awesome. It definitely feels like, the controllers, it's definitely a lot more weightier. I have a better grip on playing, games, than I did with this, which it's very similar, but it's definitely a lot lighter. And I feel like I can't control it as well as the others. But yeah, playing through it, it's amazing, First time watching your stream, say hi. Oh, hey, how's it going? Okay, last thing before I check out, do not watch Mr. Enter, he is horrible. I think when he was like really popular with his SpongeBob stuff, I wanted to see what the big deal was. I think I saw like maybe 2 videos and I just thought he was a little bit, what's the word? Like, I think he was a little bit extreme. Like, when I was done watching it, I felt kind of like really low about myself, which a lot of the YouTube stuff that I like to watch personally, I like to watch things that are like really informative and really entertaining. So something like that, I wasn't into. So I don't really know about any other of his videos, sadly. So yeah. Okay, me watching Kill la Kill. This is pretty risky. When I got to episode 16. Sweet Jesus, that's your daughter? Oh God, why? Oh yeah. Yeah, anime has a way of portraying their young characters, and they look really young. It's like, wait, you guys are not sisters? That's your mom? What? Or, wait, you're 14? You look like you're 8. Yeah, anime is very interesting when it comes to like their depictions on how girls should look. It's weird. But, that's their style. I can't say anything about it, but that's to be expected. Ugh. Let's see what I got. I'm not a big fan of the gimmicky mini consoles. I don't get what the big deal is. I can emulate those SNES games on PC for free. Oh, I guess that's true. I mean, I just like it because it looks pretty cool. And also, I can play it on my TV. It actually looks really nice. Like, some really cool features. I personally like it. I think it looks really nice, like, sitting on my TV. So, I think it looks cool. Yeah, I think I caught up with my questions. Oh, yes. Yes, I finally caught up. Everybody, thank you so much. Oh, I got more. Never mind. Did you know that Michael Morona played Kevin McAllister's brother who only had one line in Home Alone? Yeah, I do know. I think I actually met Mike and Danny at a convention a few years ago. I think I mentioned this story before, but for those who don't know, I was in a convention where I met up with a handful of people. Like Melissa Fawn, who was the voice of Gaz and Edward in Cowboy Bebop, and I met Lori Allen and Roger Bumpus, and then I met Mike and Danny. And so I was in a panel, I was watching a panel, I wasn't in with them, but I was watching a panel with them where they were talking about like their fond memories with, Mike talking about his experience with Home Alone, and Danny was talking about him doing the Mighty Ducks, and, they were just sharing a whole bunch of hilarious stories. And then there was this one guy in the back who was like asking a whole bunch of questions, which were essentially questions that everybody else asked, which was hilarious. It was basically like, hi, my name is Frank, I have a question. And he basically just repeated everybody else's question, and everybody just busted out laughing. So apparently this Frank guy was Joey Fatone from NSYNC. And everybody was like just busting up laughing that Joey Fatone would take the time to troll Mike and Danny on their panel, which I thought that was pretty hilarious. And yeah, I think that meeting them was really cool. I think I have oh yeah, that's right here actually. Yeah, I got their autographs in the slime book. So, let's see if I can look through it. Yeah, right here. So, right here, there it is. So right here, this one is Mike's autographed, and this one is Danny's autograph. So, yeah, it was pretty cool, and I'm sure that I actually do have a picture of them somewhere. So, yeah. Let's see. Did I get a Nintendo Switch? No, I didn't get a Nintendo Switch. Sorry. What about that new Soldier Boy system? There's a Soldier Boy system? What? I'll need to look into that, because I haven't heard of Soldier Boy since 2005. When did he become relevant? Uh, okay, thoughts on Keep It Spotless. I don't know what that is, sorry. Okay, what is the best forgotten live action Nickelodeon show? Caitlin's Way. I've mentioned that many times that my favorite underrated live action show is Caitlin's Way. I will definitely do a video on it, I promise. Let's see. SAO Abridged by Something Witty Entertainment. Please watch it and show it to Decker and Creepy. Yeah, I think Creepy will enjoy it. Decker, I'm not sure. I mean, Decker, his thing about anime, I mean, he knows some things about it, but not everything. But yeah, I think Creepy will enjoy it. I mean, especially if it's the abridged version, not the original version, which I've heard some people have mixed opinions. Some people say it's the worst ever. Some people will say it's not that bad. I have no idea, personally. I've never even seen the show. So, let's see. What was the first Nick show to be adapted from a popular young adult book series? Young adult book series. That's a good question, because I do know that there were some Nickelodeon shows that were based off of a book. Was it one of the adaptations, like the acquired shows from like the UK or something? Maybe that was it. I don't know, but I'm not sure. You'll probably have to let me know. Let's see. Do I like the 90s Nick soap opera 15? I've seen a handful of episodes that were available on YouTube back in 2011 when I first started the Nickelodeon Tribute, and it was like some of the most laughable stuff I've ever seen. Like, the acting is really bad and the sets are so cheap looking. I think why people still remember that show is because Ryan Reynolds was in it, so yeah, I mean, the few episodes that I did see, I thought it was like really bad. I'm sorry. Maybe it gets better, I don't know. Okay, best Nickelodeon video game. Ooh. I've only played a handful of them. I think the best one that I've ever played... I think probably either Stimpy's Invention for the Sega Genesis or one of the... I think maybe... I think I remember years ago, no, I think it was, yeah, a few years ago, my cousin, like, rented one of the SpongeBob games, but I don't remember which one it was, and he rented Tak and the Power of Juju, which I thought was just, it was whatever. I mean, I already introduced him to, like, Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter, and Sly Cooper, and he wanted to play Tak and the Power of Juju. Kids sometimes, you know? But I would probably just say that. Let's see. When dealing with potential animation series from China, what should be done with dealing with censorship? Censorship. Ooh, that's really tough because there's various kinds of censorship. We're either talking about cultural censorship, like, you know how with 4Kids that would change, like, rice balls into donuts, that kind of censorship, or we're talking about, like, pop culture references or, mentions of things that only Chinese kids would get, but an American audience would not get. Or you're talking about, like, the suggestive stuff, like, stuff that would be considered to be taboo for an American audience, like talking about politics or showing off certain things that kids would not be allowed to see. Yeah, I think that we've come a long way from, certain censorship because, if you watch anime, they more or less do, remove a lot of, some references that, an American audience wouldn't get as opposed to the Japanese. But when it comes to, like, language or maybe, like, some certain, like, depending on who does the dub or who does the production, they will show off, like, blood. They will show off, like, cut body part. They will talk about, like, the political stuff or anything like that. It just depends. As for China, I don't really know too much about the animation industry over there, so I couldn't tell you. Yes, I do know that Dave Coulier was the host of Out of Control. Yeah, he actually did discuss about that in the Slime book. So if you want to know more about that, you can check out the book. Let's see. My parents, let's see. My question, I've been wondering this, where the hell did they take the slime geyser? There's a lot of rumors. Some people say that they eventually, like, sold it off to somebody, like, when, I think I remember, like, when, they were like getting rid of the props. Like some people took it away, other people just threw it out in the garbage, or, or somebody bought it. As for the geyser, I couldn't tell you. I think that it's either like hidden away under like some storage, or maybe it is gone for good. I couldn't tell you. Okay. Let's see. I love 15 because it's so cheesy. Yeah, that's perfectly fair. If you're into a show that is like, delightfully over the top cheesy, that's perfect. You're more entitled to that. More power to you. I kind of have a similar thing with My Brother and Me. I think I've mentioned this on the Snick podcast where, there was just that show is just so delightfully awful in all the right places. The acting is terrible. The stories are so cliched. The characters are one-dimensional and just tropey characters. Everything about that show is just so delightfully awful. Like, you watch that show and you just want to laugh. Not because the characters are saying some witty one-liners, because there's no witty one-liners whatsoever, or because the characters are so interesting and likable. No, it's because the acting sucks, and the characters, I don't know, they just say some of the goofiest things. But then again, they were emulating what a 90s sitcom was at the time. And if you know about stuff like Full House, then you know stuff like that hasn't aged very well. I mean, they even had one character have a catchphrase, and he said it in every single episode. His catchphrase was, "Don't hold your breath." Like, really? That's your catchphrase? I actually preferred the Full House catchphrase is like, "You got it, dude," or "Cut it out," or "How rude." At least you can kind of say it. But when would you ever say "don't hold your breath"? Like, when? When? Like, seriously. No, I have never met, Christine Moose McGlade from You Can't Do That on Television. I want to, though. But, she's in Canada, and, I'm sure that, I know that she's still busy. She works as, like, a producer on TV. So, she's, I don't think she's really on social media that often, but I would love to have her on the podcast if I can. That would be amazing. Hard to believe that The Simpsons will be celebrating their 30th anniversary in 2019. Yeah, really crazy. Like, I had no idea that it would last that long. Have I ever read any of Junji Injo's works? I don't think so. Sorry. Welcome Freshman was created as Nick's attempt to cash in on the success of NBC's Saved by the Bell. Yeah, at first. I would say like either the second or the third season was when they were really trying to cash it in on Saved by the Bell. But I think that the first handful of seasons were just where they were just doing like a bunch of skits and jokes. It definitely felt very You Can't Do That on Television-ish with a mixture of high school. But yeah, I would say like the later season is when they really try to be like, Saved by the Bell, and they failed at it. They really did. There was a really bad Christmas movie called The Christmas Tree that only aired once. It is horrible in every single aspect. I've never seen it, so I have no opinions on it, so I am sorry. Do you think that Slime Survivor would bring life back to Nick Studios? I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it. Nick Studios is no more. I've always thought that maybe it could come back with, Nickelodeon Studios in California, but, they're focusing on their other stuff. The Harry Potter world, they're going to have Nintendo in there. So I don't think they're interested in Nickelodeon as much anymore, which, life moves on. Let's see. What early 90s live action shows were my favorites? Let's see. Clarissa, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Pete and Pete, and all that, Kenan and Kel. Everything else was just whatever. So, I think, now that I'm going to be catching up with some, some questions, I'm thinking about maybe, like, playing through some of the games that I have, in honor of me getting this really cool little thing. I don't know. I'm thinking about which game should I play. I've been playing through Hollow Knight for the longest time on my Steam account, so maybe I'll play through that. I don't think any of you guys have ever seen Hollow Knight, so maybe I'll give that a whirl. If my stupid live stream software will let me work. But yeah, well, let me just see if it'll actually work. So yeah, you guys can continue to ask your questions, and let me just see if I can set up. Do you think that Salute Your Shorts creator Steve Slotkin went on to create the short-lived NBC Saturday morning cartoon Running the Halls, which is a SBTB ripoff set in a prestigious prep school? No, I didn't know that. Very interesting. Let's see. Let's see. Thoughts on Brain Surge, New Figure It Out, and Webheads. Okay. Really liked Brain Surge. I think it was probably the best game show that came out in the 2000s because everything else was either a remake of a previous Nickelodeon game show, or it was Ruby. I'm sorry. I would like to see Ruby. I've heard some really good things about Ruby. There we go. Okay, I think that looks really nice. Do you think 100 Days Freddy McDowd is one of the most underrated shows in the SNCC lineup? Personally, Okay, there we go. I think I got everything all fixed up. Let me know if you guys can hear the music, or, if things, look okay. I'm sorry if I look a little bit, like, staticky, but for some reason the frame rate seems to drop whenever I try playing through a game, for some reason. So, I think that I'm gonna, try to give this a shot. Let's see. Patricia, did I see any movies this holiday, like Aquaman or Bumblebee? No, I haven't. I've been with my family for this Christmas, so I've been kind of busy with them. Anyway, I've been playing through the game, actually, so I'm just gonna start a new game. Do you think Nickelodeon should reboot all that? That would be kind of cool. I would like to see them reboot all that. It's gonna be hard, though, because of the legacy that all that had. With the original run, but if they can pull it off, I'd like to see it, especially with Brian Robbins being the president. I'm sure he wouldn't want to let that show get ruined. Let's see. In Wilds Beyond, they speak your name with reverence and regret, for none can tame our savage souls that you challenge met, or something like that. Yeah, I'm sorry about the buffer, everybody. I'm gonna try to see if I can, get it. Probably need to, increase the frame rate. I think that's what the problem is.